Good morning, everyone. Golden Ticket to History here, coming again from Florida National Cemetery. Florida National Cemetery is a military veteran cemetery about an hour west of Orlando, Florida. It is one of the largest military cemeteries and is also the second most active in the country. On average, I can't remember if it's 2,000 per month. I believe it's 2,000 per month interments. And it's believed that this cemetery is going to reach capacity by 2030. I'm not sure what the capacity is. I've driven through a good chunk of the cemetery, and there's still some plots left open, some sections left open. But they're already at 183,000 interments. Many of them are beneath the ground, or in-ground interments. They're slowly starting to add more and more columbiums, as well as mausoleum-type interments to try to, provide a place for niches for people who have cremains, so they can have their final resting place in this military cemetery as well. And that could potentially help mitigate the fact of the cemetery maxing out. Because you think, you put 183,000 individuals in the ground, that takes a lot of space. Perspective. So I've already done one video here, and I drove to the back side of the cemetery. I'm assuming it's the back side of the cemetery. And now I'm at a second location, and I drove almost 2 miles. And I'm only just scratching the outside surface, kind of like the rainbow of the cemetery. The arch of the cemetery is what I've pretty much gone through. Who I am here visiting today is a second person, a second famous grave. This is the final resting place of another fellow wrestler. If you checked out my last video with Blackjack Mulligan, you've seen that there is some wrestlers who found themselves in the military as well, and somehow found themselves in Florida and decided to make Florida National Cemetery their final resting place. Who we're seeing today, though, is a gentleman by the name of Raymond C Fernandez. Does that name ring a bell? Something's getting beat up pretty bad over there. And I really don't want to know what it is. I hear this wrestling behind me. I thought someone was coming out. Something is not having a good day in there. Oh, it's armadillo. A second armadillo. Sorry for that slight digression. That wasn't planned by any means. I just was sitting there doing this video, and I heard a whole bunch of ruffling and scuffling behind me. And I wasn't really sure what it was. So I wanted to get some video content in case it was a cougar or something. And this was my last video reporting anywheres. You know, it's Florida. Could be a panther. We're way out there in the backwoods of the rural sides of Florida. You know, typically when people think of Florida, we think of places like Orlando and Disneyland, and we think of Miami and the beaches. Most of Florida is farmland. Florida actually has the most acreages of agricultural land in the country. Think of Montana, think of West Virginia, think of Wyoming. They don't have nothing on Florida. A little tidbit. But I digress. Back to Mr. Raymond C Fernandez. Hopefully our friends, the armadillos, can give us a little bit of a break and we can finish this video. So you may not know Raymond C Fernandez, but what about the name Hercules? Hercules was a wrestler. He wrestled in WWF as well as spent some time in WCW. So you may not recognize Raymond Fernandez's name, but if you followed WWF during the 1980s, you've seen him step into the ring under the name Hercules Hernandez, and later shortened it to just Hercules, especially in the early 90s. I think the first couple Royal Rumbles had him in it. I may try to include a couple clips into this video as well. He was also a competitive bodybuilder. Hercules was known for his powerful physique, which suited his ring name. Despite looking like $1,000,000, Herc never broke into superstardom in the wrestling world, though he did take part in a few memorable programs that 80s wrestling fans will remember. Hercules Hernandez joined the World Wrestling Federation in 1985. While he was involved in a few storylines and took on some top-billed talent, notably Hulk Hogan and The Ultimate Warrior, he was never able to build a large fan base. Many speculate that the WWF never gave Hercules a real opportunity to shine, his matches often resulting in him jobbing to the bigger star. In the early 90s, Hercules left the WWF in hopes of making a name for himself elsewhere. He joined rival company WCW, where he took on the monocle of the Super Invader, hailing from Bangkok, Thailand. His name with the WCW only ended up lasting a year, and it was time. After that, Hercules appeared at small promotions around the world. He would ultimately retire from wrestling in 1999. So he had a quiet retirement before death. Often wrestlers' death stories are filled with drug abuse and alcohol and deteriorating family situations, particularly when they retire under disappointing circumstances. The Hercules' death story is very different, though. Up until his death, Raymond remained a dedicated family man. He was a devoted husband and father to 6 children. He spent most of his time visiting schools, encouraging children to get good grades and to avoid drugs. In addition, he would visit children with terminal illnesses to boost their spirits. Because he led a simple, wholesome life, most people were extremely shocked when Hercules died. Hercules' date of death was March 6, 2004. The former professional wrestler was just 47 years old at the time of his passing. He would have turned 48 a few months later in May. Not much has been revealed about the exact details of Hercules' death, as his family has kept the matter as private as possible. Reportedly, Hercules died in his sleep during the night in his home in Tampa, Florida, the same city where he was born. Hercules' wife shared with the press that her husband died of heart disease, so presumably he suffered a heart attack. After Hercules' death, a funeral was held for family to pay respects in 2004. He was included in a book of tributes published by Wrestling Observer that briefly discussed his life story. Raymond Hercules Fernandez is buried here in Florida National Cemetery. If you want to check it out, he's in section 325, site 558. And one of the things about military cemeteries is that some of them are marked on both sides with the names. Some of them just have the section number and the plot number. For example, Raymond Fernandez's plot section number is 325. His plot number is 558. So if you find yourself searching in these sections, trying to find, because if you see, there's probably 2,000 interments right here, if not more. And then they all look almost the same, with only slight deviations, such as maybe the person's faith. For example, Mr. Fernandez has a cross at the top of his, the different ranks based off of what level of promotion they were able to reach during their time in the military services, and maybe a slight little moniker hailing to either what they did outside of the military, what they did while they were in the military, or maybe even just a small little message from their family saying they love them, such as the gentleman right behind Mr. Fernandez, who was in World War II. He passed away in 2004. His family left. Our hearts are with you. Raymond Fernandez was born on May 7th, 1956, and he unfortunately passed away in his sleep on March 6th, 2004. Just a few moments ago, he was 47, just a few months short of his 48th birthday. The mighty Hercules is one of the inscriptions, and he was a beloved father. Minus our armadillo buddies and the slight little sound of diesel engines in the back doing some work on the cemetery. This is a very peaceful place. It's an extremely well-kept place. As I was driving in, they had the little blowers hooked to the back of the carts. They were blowing off the roads. They had pressure washers, and they were cleaning each gravestone individually. So yes, I guess if you have to meet your maker and your time on this earth is done, this isn't a bad place to spend eternity. As always, I hope you enjoyed this video. Sorry about that, it was a loud little cart was going by. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Hopefully you had an opportunity to pay your respects to Mr. Hercules with me. The cemetery does have, for those of you who are into the paranormal, some people believe that some of the spirits of those who made the ultimate sacrifice to defend our freedoms still lingers here. There's been some EVPs, electronic voice phenomenon, as well as some other experiences by some people. I don't know. Until next time, continue to look for the history in film. I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to subscribe, make sure to like, put down in the comments, let me know what you'd like to see next. As always, until next time.